Welcome to our UGA Sports YouTube channel. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to check out what we're doing with our UGAsports.com YouTube page. We are the most popular Georgia Bulldog-centric YouTube channel. Really proud of that, and that's because of great fans like you that support what we're doing and allow us to live a really cool dream, which is to talk about the Georgia Bulldogs as part of our living. That's Brent Rollins. I'm Dayne Young. We co-author a piece during the season at UGAsports.com. Very popular over there. It's called Film Don't Lie, where we break down each game the day and a couple of days after sometimes from each Saturday. In the offseason, we're taking a look at Georgia's top returning players based off of PFF grades. It's not an opinion thing. It's not where we think Georgia's players rank, but it's if you take all of the plays that Pro Football Focus grades and come up with the formula for what their grade is for the season. Brent can explain this way better than I can, but it's pretty much the tally of that. And when you have big sample sizes, you really get, I would say, a good picture of where a player lies. Hard to find sample sizes as big as the one that we're talking about in this episode, Brent.
Yep, number 14, I think, right?
Number 14.
What's amazing about this list, Mr. Warren McClendon comes in at number 14, is that we started at 23. So this is a big list in terms of, and the cupboard not being bare, because we look at 70 is kind of, you're getting into that average to above average starter play with PFF grades. And what you talked about with sample size is definitively there with Mr. McClendon since being inserted at right tackle against Arkansas in 2020. 24 straight starts, over 1,400 snaps, 75.8 overall grade that time, like right basically where his season grade was this last year in 2021. And just the epitome of consistency at right tackle for Georgia.
According to Rivals out of high school, he was 6'5", 300, class of 2019 from Brunswick, Georgia, Brunswick High School down on the coastal part of Georgia. Signed with Georgia in 2018 for that class of 2019. Well, I guess he committed. That's the date that he committed to it. 4-star player. All the usual customers wanted him because why wouldn't you at a guy that's his size? And he's proven that he is worthy of that. 6'5", 300 again. But when you look at his official team bio over at GeorgiaDogs.com, apparently somewhere along the way he shrunk an inch, which probably just means that, somewhere along the line he's in the middle or it's not quite accurate. These measurements can mean
cleats,
things,
no
right?
cleats. I mean, who knows?
But he did start all 15 games in 2021, one of the more experienced players on the team. And you said, I think the word consistent earlier, just in terms of presence and staying healthy and staying productive, one of the best players on the team in that regard.
Yes, 100%. And that's what what you're getting. And a lot of times when you think about play coaches' decisions in terms of how they play players, a lot of times it's not necessarily, I might see the tantalizing talent that one other player might have, but I know exactly what I'm getting in a different player. And that I want to know exactly what I'm getting on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. And that carries a lot of weight and value.
Really tough assignment in the first game against Clemson for the entire Georgia offensive line. This is him again at right tackle here. But let's remember, I know Clemson was disappointing as a whole last season, but this game was super close. And that Clemson defensive line, I would say, was right there with Georgia at the best in the country when healthy. I mean, this was
especially
Brian
game one.
He was going. Yeah.
Yes, especially game one. And by the way, that's who he really kind of needs to block on this play. And I think the biggest thing that when you rewatch the Clemson game is somebody who we've already talked about on our list here, number 23, Sedrick Van Pran. His just assignment, and I would almost bet that a third of the time he almost went the wrong way, blocked the wrong guy, because you watch here on this play, him and Warren Erickson at right guard just absolutely smash each other. But McClendon coming down here, and this is where you see him have any sort of issue. It's with the uber talented defensive lineman. Like Bressee's a different level. He's a guy who, when healthy, is one of the top defensive linemen in college football. But these two guys, I think Erickson, or not Erickson, but Van Pran actually went the wrong way.
Yeah, technically
And
this is 4 Bulldogs pretty much at the same spot. I know this is a pull over to this side, but
yeah,
still the cluster of players in that one spot. Pretty easy when you see and just all the lanes that Clemson can attack from there.
yeah, and that's when you watch McClendon specifically, where does he struggle? Like, just like anybody else, supremely athletic defensive lineman in certain instances, or movement off the line of scrimmage. If he can get his hands on you, he's going to dominate you for the most part. But this play, and by the way, what do we do? What do I do? And what do we do when we look at these plays? We're trying to find ones that just, we're trying to find the negatives to sort of outweigh some of those positives. And this is early in the season. Yeah, just not a win, not a win as a rep for him
frankly,
or anybody, for anyone.
I was about to say, you look at the entire offensive line here, and maybe Schaefer does okay, but the rest of it's a real cluster.
Cluster, yes.
Even Jamari, like, what's that?
Yeah, I think he thought the center was coming back, walking back, but neither here nor there. But yes, some struggles in certain areas. And I think the next play even gets to that same sort of, we're talking about speed, athleticism. Now, this is an extremely tough block for McClendon to make. This is, when you look at who he's blocking the guy with the white wrist tape. This got his hand down on the ground, who's on his interior, very much sort of on his left. Yeah, that guy. Or to his left, and the play is going. He's zoning left. That's just a difficult block for him to come down against the guy who's already inside of him, and then is slanting inside as well. But two things happen here: one, he crosses his face, and then two, crosses the face plus penetration. And we can stop it right. Let's see there. That's what I mean by cross his face. Like, he's trying to get his head to the other side to then push him away, give the back a cutback lane, take the defensive lineman where he wants to go. But for the most part there, he just gets beat with speed, angles, things like that. And that's, some of the areas where he struggled.
And we put a couple of those plays at the beginning where he struggled. Let's be clear, at the totality of what he did in 2021, that was the exception and not the rule. For the most part, he was very productive. And in most cases, I would say even exceptional in doing what he needed to do in his play to mitigate whatever rush from his side.
When you look at and speaking of that, when you look at last season, the 15 games, I think it's 2, 3, the SEC championship game where a lot of people struggled, Clemson, and then Arkansas. Those 3 games were the only games where he wasn't at least at a sort of above average or above average grade. So just that epitome, a lot of 70s and then a few into the 80s from a grading perspective for him. Now, this is one where these are great examples, and we like to find these just because of where does the PFF grade differ from what the actual result on the field is? Because the result on the field here is a completion for first down. But he gets annihilated up front, or up to the top of the screen. If JT Daniels, I think that's Daniels, right? If JT Daniels holds the ball one count longer, like Kingsley Enigbare from South Carolina is putting his head into his chest because he gets beat. McClendon on the top of the screen right there gets beat with a quick inside move. He has Enigbare from South Carolina, drafted in, I think, the 5th round. The Packers.
Really good player.
It was one of the highest graded defenders in the SEC, highest graded pass rushers. His athletic testing pushed him down in the draft. But one of the things about him is he had insanely long arms. And that's where you overset and he gets you beat with an inside move. Now, what do we get from McClendon on a consistent basis, though? We get what we're about to see in these next few plays.
Here we go against Auburn. If you want to find good plays for Georgia, I would say first quarter against Arkansas and most of the game against Auburn. There's a lot of good stuff for Bulldog players.
And a lot of stuff that we've already shown on the tape. But here, this is a chip up to a backer that then we get a little bit of a, little IHOP, little pancake action.
1, 2.
Down. As one of our football coaches always says, I baptize you. But yes, that's – and what do you want to see from your tackles there? It's that athleticism. It's I can hit off of one guy, get up to the second level, and then once I get my hands on that guy on the second level, a little jersey grab, but still yet he's pulling away, and then finish. And that was what you saw here. And really all these last 3 plays, that's what we're showing is movement skills. I don't think he's an elite athlete. And I think that's what you're going to see him in that sort of third, fourth round conversation when we talk about the NFL draft. But from an athleticism standpoint, he's still an above average athlete and able to move and do things along the interior.
Let's just pre-snap here, just kind of take a look at our situation. 2nd and 1 against Tennessee. And when you just see the way the offensive line is here, you can kind of tell that, all right.
A little bit of lean, especially left guard or the right guard, by the way.
Yeah, lean here. So that tells me, all right, I'm going to be on a little bit of an island by myself.
And also look at the
handle up here.
And this is something oftentimes you can tell on the TV when you're watching TV. Look at their helmet, the line of their helmet versus the line of the left side's helmets.
Yep.
Like they're back a half a head. And it's hard to see from the defensive standpoint.
Again, McClendon here.
And we're getting a guard tackle counter here. Boom.
I actually was really impressed with his agility on tape. I agree with you. Not the greatest athlete, but really good footwork here.
Yeah, and the key is once you get your hands on people, it's what do you do with it? And here, it might look kind of like a hold, but if the all 22 angle, he actually gets him right in the chest and just pushes him to the ground with the right arm in the chest. But still, quick around, get your head up, get upfield, and that's he's blocking exactly who he's supposed to be blocking.
Getting even just that one arm right here. And then having to cut through this lane, like he's got to be nimble. And you don't often think about your right tackle having to be nimble, but that's exactly what this is, to make sure that you got a clean lane for the 2nd 1 run.
Dealing with traffic, not tripping, getting tripped up, the ability to keep your eyes up while not getting tripped up. I mean, I remember we did the film breakdown of the Tennessee game, one drive specifically, in some of the runs with the Tennessee game. And you're just watching the feet of the offensive line and how close they are to stepping on each other almost all the time. And that's reps and that's practice. But again, agility that he has, and that's going to be something that helps him at the next level.
You'd mentioned, let's look at the lineman helmets. Straight here, straight there.
Yeah.
So different look than what you just saw against Tennessee.
Yep.
Pass pro, get out there, boom, open it up for Bowers.
And let him do his thing.
Again, with the agility with McClendon, this play, I think we have a second angle of it here, which shows it better. This is really impressive for someone of his size to make sure that you maintain your balance and your momentum to be able to get to the second level like you have to.
And it's the other impressive part to me here is the timing element of it. It's, you engage 1,001, 1,002, I'm going. And then, again, like you said, the agility and here's what do we always talk about with offensive line play. It's not always about, and even receiver and perimeter blocking, it's not about destruction. It's not about putting someone on their back. It's about getting in the way and giving that one glimmer of instant that Bowers needs to get up the field right there. He got in the way. Perfect. Agile enough to do that. Engage, get off, get there, get in the way, adjust a little bit, and then you let your guys that do great things with the football go do great things with the football.
This was almost blown up a little bit by Warren Erickson moving faster than I think he thought he could, which is kind of funny. But, on the right side of the line, it was the Warrens for a long time this year.
It was.
One more play just to see Bowers. One more look at this play to see Bowers get up. There's going to be so many things designed like this, which it looks like that Bowers is blocking, but then he turns around and grabs a pass and just scampers. That's going to be such a big piece of Monken's offense, I think, in 2022.
Yep, get him the ball any way you can. And that's when you look at the list as it scrolls across the bottom, one of the guys that we've already talked about on this list is Amarius Mims. And you think from an NFL, the look of it, the athletic ability, the size, the talent, the combination, that guy is a guy who projects in that first-round type talent mode. But guess what he's not been able to do? Not being able to beat out Warren McClendon, because that guy's been Mr. Consistent since the time he stepped foot on the field against Arkansas in 2020. Kind
of some similar vibes to like when Solomon Kinley was at left guard, because it seemed like for a couple of years it was like, all right, well, somebody that's been recruited would have probably beat him out, right? And it wasn't that he was playing poorly. It's just like, well, I don't project him to be like a first or second round pick. Well, guess what? I think he was a third round pick, right?
Yeah, he was a third. Yep.
And he's been productive with the Dolphins. And so When I look at it, I think Warren McClendon has a very much a similar path to that. He's not going to be a first or second round pick. I mean, unless someone gets desperate or unless he just has amazing tape to put out there in 2022, which is possible. I think he has that level of talent. I don't know if he's going to be quite the athlete in terms of some of the movement that the NFL is going to want. But again, like, these are college players. They're teenagers in a lot of cases. He's in his early 20s, right? You can see them develop in a lot of different ways that are unexpected.
And you get the trust factor with him. And we talked about, and we mentioned this a little bit earlier, but you guys with Coach Don on the UJ Sports Live talked about him even taking some reps at center. It's because it's that trust factor there, especially at that position. Along the offensive line, I need to know when I'm going to get play to play, week to week, versus, hey, this guy dominates one play. The next three, not so much. You know what you're going to get from McClendon. You know he's going to be a staple along the offensive line, and the ability for him to show that versatility makes himself even more marketable at the next level, but helps the team if need be.
And he's been available. He's been remarkably healthy, which says something about
skill.
His conditioning. And it also says that he can play with some pain, because you can't play the amount of games that Georgia did last season and not play with pain at offensive line in the SEC. He was banged up multiple times, I guarantee it, but it never stopped him. We never heard about it. And that's a sign of a champion, especially in college football.
Dependability and availability, two highly coveted skills. Yes, I said that right. Those are skills.
The coaches want that from everybody. Hey, we're 14 down to number 14 on our list. That means we have 13 more to go. We're going to keep doing these 2 a week until we get to the top 5, and then we'll kind of do a deeper dive into those particular players and what they did last season that was so vital for Georgia to win a national championship and why they're the leaders of the team heading into 2022. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. Thanks for watching this, and make sure you're subscribed to this YouTube channel to see all the content that we put out there from this series and more that we do. Film Don't Lie during the season is something that you're not going to want to miss. As we're recording this, it's middle to late June. So that means Georgia, Oregon is rapidly approaching, and we'll make sure you are set up for that. Until then, we have 13 more Bulldogs to break down in our list of top returning dogs based off of PFF grades. Brent, thanks as always. We'll do it again next time. Thanks for watching, everybody.